Somewhere near you, right now, there is a McDonald's. And here is what almost nobody eating in it understands. McDonald's probably doesn't own the fryers. It doesn't employ the crew. It doesn't even keep the money from the meal. An independent franchisee does, because 95% of the 45,000 McDonald's on Earth are owned by somebody else. So what does the corporation own? The dirt. In its biggest markets, McDonald's owns or controls the land and the building, and the franchisee pays it rent. Between 8 and 15% of everything the restaurant sells. Last year, those rent checks came to more than $10 billion, more than the company earned in royalties for the brand, the recipes, and the golden arches combined. Sitting on its balance sheet, after decades of depreciation, is $28 billion of property. The true market value is far higher. McDonald's is the most famous restaurant company in history. It is also, quietly, one of the biggest landlords on the planet. And that was not an accident. It was a decision. Made in 1956 by an accountant most people have never heard of, who looked at a broke milkshake machine salesman's failing burger franchise and said the words that built the empire. We'll get to them, word for word. This is the story of McDonald's. The two brothers who invented fast food, the 52-year-old salesman who took it from them, and the quiet man who understood that the burgers were never the business. 1948. San Bernardino, California, a desert town at the end of Route 66. Two brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald, Dick and Mac, run one of the most successful drive-in restaurants in the state. Car shops on roller skates, 25 items on the menu, teenagers loitering in the parking lot. It makes good money. And the brothers are sick of it. So they do something no successful restaurant owner had ever done. They close it. For 3 months. They fire the car shops. They throw away the menu and keep only the 9 items that sell. Hamburgers at 15 cents, fries, shakes. They eliminate plates, glasses, and cutlery for paper and cellophane. And on their home tennis court, in chalk, they draw a kitchen. Then have their crew walk through it for hours, like actors blocking a play, moving the chalk lines until every step is gone. Custom stainless steel stations, 1 person grills, 1 dresses, 1 bags. Food in 30 seconds, not 30 minutes. They called it the Speedee service system. It was the assembly line, applied to dinner, fast food, invented in an afternoon of chalk. When the redesigned stand reopened, it stumbled for a few months, and then the lines wrapped around the block and never left. By the early 50s, the brothers were splitting 6 figures of profit a year. Their stand was on the cover of American Restaurant magazine, and imitators were making pilgrimages to San Bernardino to copy the kitchen bolt by bolt. The brothers sold a few franchises, a handful of stands across California and Arizona, including a new building design with 2 golden arches through the roof. But they didn't push. They didn't travel. They had no children, 1 Cadillac each, and a big house on the hill. Dick McDonald said it plainly. They were content. Contentment, it turned out, was the opening. 1954. A 52-year-old traveling salesman named Kroc is driving between diners with a trunk full of multi-mixers, machines that spin 5 milkshakes at once. Business is bad. Then an order crosses his desk that makes no sense. 1 hamburger stand in San Bernardino is running 8 of his machines. 40 milkshakes. At the same time, Kroc gets in the car to see it for himself. He had spent 30 years in 1,000 restaurant kitchens. He had never seen anything like this. A line out front, food in seconds, a kitchen that ran like a Swiss watch. Kroc's pitch to the brothers was simple. Let me franchise this nationwide. The brothers, who didn't want the headache, agreed on terms that would haunt everyone involved. Here was the deal. Kroc could sell franchises for $950. Franchisees would pay 1.9% of sales, and from that, 0.5% went straight to the brothers, forever. Kroc kept 1.4% of sales, out of which he had to pay for everything. Staff, offices, supervision, his own salary. which for years was nothing. And one more clause, the one with teeth. No changes to the system, the buildings, the menu, anything, without the brothers' approval, in writing. Approval which rarely came. On April 15, 1955, Kroc opened his first McDonald's in Des Plaines, Illinois. It worked. More followed. And Kroc was going broke anyway, mortgaging his house, skipping his own paycheck, running a growing national franchise that generated fame, lines, and 1.4% of not very much. By 1956, McDonald's was a phenomenon that could not pay for itself, which is exactly when the accountant walked in. Harry J. Sonneborn, a former finance man from the Tasty Freeze ice cream company. He looked at Kroc's books and saw the flaw in minutes. You cannot build a national company on 1.4% of hamburger sales. The burgers would never carry the growth. Something else had to. His answer, in 1956, was a new company with a boring name: Franchise Realty Corporation. From now on, McDonald's itself would find every new site. It would buy the land or sign a long-term lease on it, and then it would sublease that site to the franchisee at a markup. Cost plus 20% at first, soon cost plus 40%. With a floor built in, the franchisee paid a fixed minimum rent or a percentage of sales, whichever was higher. When the restaurant did well, the landlord automatically did better. And buried in the lease was the real invention: control. Break McDonald's operating standards, dirty kitchen, wrong menu, sloppy service, and you weren't just violating a franchise agreement. You were violating your lease. You could be evicted from your own restaurant. Every rule McDonald's has ever enforced, it enforces as your landlord. The model solved the money problem too. In the 1950s, banks didn't lend against hamburger stands, but they lent against land all day long. Real estate turned McDonald's from an unbankable restaurant scheme into a property company with collateral, and the expansion floodgates opened. Sonneborn became the company's first president and chief executive, and when he explained McDonald's to Wall Street, he did it with a sentence Ray Kroc hated and never replaced. We are not technically in the food business, we are in the real estate business. The only reason we sell 15-cent hamburgers is because they are the greatest producer of revenue from which our tenants can pay us our rent. By 1961, Ray Kroc was done asking permission. The brothers' written approval clause sat on every ambition like a lock. So he called San Bernardino and asked what it would cost to buy them out completely. The brothers named their price: $2.7 million, enough, after taxes, to hand each brother a clean million. Kroc thought it was outrageous. Sonneborn raised the money anyway. Then, at the finish line, the deal turned bitter. The brothers insisted on keeping their original San Bernardino restaurant, the birthplace. Kroc got everything else, the system, the name, including theirs. The brothers had sold the rights to the word McDonald's, so they had to take their own name off their own building. It became the Big M. And Ray Kroc, in an act he never really denied was revenge, opened a brand new McDonald's a block away. Within 6 years, the Big M was dead. And then there is the handshake. The McDonald family maintained for decades that the $2.7 million was not the whole deal, that Kroc also promised, on a handshake, to keep paying the brothers 0.5% royalty forever, off the books, because his lenders wouldn't finance it in writing. No document exists. Kroc denied it. It was never paid. But run the numbers once. 0.5% of last year's system sales would be roughly $700 million per year, every year. The most expensive handshake in business history, if it happened. What's beyond dispute is what Kroc's company became. Today, $139 billion a year flows through McDonald's registers worldwide. But the corporation's own revenue is just $27 billion, and that's the elegant part. $16.5 billion of it comes from franchisees, and most of that is rent. Of every franchise dollar McDonald's collects, more than 80 cents survives as profit. From the restaurants it actually runs itself, about 15 cents, which is why McDonald's operates a 46% profit margin, the kind software companies brag about while selling $5 meals. It signs franchisees to 20-year leases on land it controls, under rules it writes. The burgers change, the fries shrink, the dirt stays. Nintendo taxed every game on its machine. Costco taxed the front door. McDonald's found the oldest tax of all. It taxed the ground. Everyone else in fast food fights over pennies on a burger, a war of lettuce costs and value menus. McDonald's collects the rent no matter whose burger wins the week. The brothers invented the product. The salesman supplied the ambition. But the accountant asked the only question that builds empires: what layer of this business compounds? Recipes get copied. Brands age. A corner lot on the busiest street in town does neither. 69 years later, Sonneborn's boring little realty company is still the engine. And every Big Mac is, quietly, a rent check. Next time, we're starting something new. A playlist about billion-dollar mistakes. The company that had Netflix sitting in its conference room for sale for $50 million and laughed them out of the building. If you don't want to miss Blockbuster, you know what to do.